I walked into that luxury store with my mangy dog and was humiliated by the saleswoman. She had no idea I was the new owner of the store, and what I did next left everyone speechless. Subscribe to our channel now and find out how a simple farmer taught the biggest life lesson to those who looked down on him. The scorching midday sun punished the asphalt of Fifth Avenue, the heart of New York City's luxury shopping district. The impeccable storefronts reflected the shimmer of jewelry and designer clothes, while well-dressed New Yorkers circulated with bags from international brands. Amid that scene of opulence, a discordant figure caught the attention of passers-by. Jack Peterson, a man in his early 50s with boots dusty with red soil, faded jeans worn by time and a battered straw hat protecting his sunburned face. At his side, a yellow mongrel with spotted coat showing evident signs of mange and poorly healed wounds walked faithfully. Despite its debilitated appearance, the animal's eyes overflowed with loyalty when looking at its owner. Jack, a countryman from rural Kentucky, had traveled nearly 500 miles to the Big Apple with a special mission. "Come on, Lucky, it's here," he murmured, stopping in front of the storefront of Pet Glamour, the most exclusive pet boutique in the city. As he pushed the glass door with its golden frame, a small bell announced his entry. The air conditioning and woody perfume contrasted with the smell of sweat and earth emanating from his simple clothes. The store was decorated with crystals and mirrored displays, exhibiting diamond-studded collars, designer outfits, and accessories that cost more than many Americans earned in months of work. Patricia Montgomery, the head saleswoman, was arranging a display of French canine perfumes when she noticed the unwanted presence. Tall, slender, with perfectly straightened dark hair and perfectly manicured red nails, she wrinkled her nose at the sight of the maltreated dog. Her expression of displeasure was immediate and poorly disguised. "Excuse me, sir," she said in a falsely polite tone, but with evident disdain. "Animals in precarious condition are not allowed here. Our policy is quite strict about this." Jack wasn't shaken by the hostility. With the calmness of someone who had faced worse storms, he replied, "Good morning, miss. I understand your concern, but I've come from far away to buy a present for my friend here." He indicated Lucky with an affectionate gesture. "He saved my life during the flood that destroyed half my farm last month." Patricia cast a look of contempt at the animal, which was timidly wagging its tail. "I understand your sentiment," she said, emphasizing the word with sarcasm, "but we have a reputation to uphold. Our regular customers wouldn't feel comfortable with this situation." While they conversed, other customers observed the scene with curiosity. An elderly lady with a toy poodle in her arms shook her head in disapproval at the saleswoman's attitude. However, the majority seemed to silently agree with Patricia, keeping their distance from the simple man and his maltreated dog. Jack, ignoring the embarrassment, began to observe the displayed collars, stopping precisely in front of the most expensive ones in the store, handcrafted Italian leather pieces with silver details and small diamonds. "How much is this one?" he asked, pointing to a particularly elegant piece. Patricia gave a restrained laugh. "That's from the special Giardini collection, handmade in Milan. It costs $1,200, sir." The man nodded without showing surprise. He adjusted his hat and continued examining the collar with genuine interest. The saleswoman, now visibly irritated, approached with a forced smile. "Perhaps you'd prefer to take a look at our more accessible options? We have basic collars starting at $20 in the back section." Jack ignored the suggestion, continuing to examine the luxury collars. Meanwhile, the door of the store opened again, and an elegant woman entered, wearing a silk outfit and sporting flashy jewelry. She carried in her arms a small Maltese with colorful bows in its perfectly brushed coat. "Patricia, darling, I need that French shampoo you recommended to me," exclaimed the customer loudly. The saleswoman immediately abandoned Jack, addressing the customer with exaggerated solicitude. "Mrs. Campbell, what a pleasure to see you. Again. The new summer collection just arrived yesterday that you would love." Jack, feeling invisible, bent down to pet Lucky, whose eyes seemed to understand the humiliation his owner was experiencing. While the two remained discreetly in a corner of the store, the doors of the office in the back opened, and a man of approximately 40, wearing a well-cut suit, emerged holding a folder of documents. Claude Matthews, manager of Pet Glamour, stopped in his tracks when he spotted Jack. His eyes widened in recognition. He handed the folder to an assistant and walked hurriedly toward the countryman. "Mr. Peterson? Jack Peterson?" he asked, with a genuine smile on his face. Patricia interrupted her conversation with the elegant customer and turned, observing the scene with curiosity. Jack smiled discreetly and extended his calloused hand to greet the manager. "In the flesh, Claude. I came to see how things are going here after that conversation we had last month." The manager shook Jack's hand with evident respect. "It's an honor to receive you in our store, sir. How are you feeling after everything that happened?" "And I see you brought the famous hero." Patricia, confused by the interaction, approached cautiously. For the first time, she realized that something in that situation escaped her understanding. The respectful tone of the manager with that simple man made no sense to her. "Mr. Peterson, how was the trip from Kentucky to here?" "I hope it wasn't too tiring," asked Claude, completely ignoring Patricia's confused expression. Jack adjusted his hat and smiled slightly. "Nothing that some good years in the field haven't prepared me for. How are the renovations we discussed? I see the facade turned out the way I imagined." By this point, the entire store was observing the unusual conversation. Patricia, feeling increasingly uncomfortable, cleared her throat, trying to get the manager's attention, who continued to ignore her presence. "Excuse me, Claude," she interrupted with a forced smile. "I think there's been some misunderstanding. I was explaining to the gentleman that animals in precarious conditions are not allowed here." The manager turned to Patricia, and his demeanor instantly changed to a serious expression. "Patricia, this is Mr. Jack Peterson, the new owner of Pet Glamour and 3 more stores in the chain across the country." Silence took over the environment. Patricia's face completely lost its color, while the other customers exchanged surprised looks. The lady with the toy poodle couldn't contain a smile of satisfaction at seeing the arrogant saleswoman in such an embarrassing situation. "Oh, owner?" stammered Patricia, her face now red with shame. "I didn't know. Nobody informed me. Please, excuse me for the misunderstanding." Jack made an unconcerned gesture with his hand. "I didn't come here to create trouble, miss. I just wanted to buy a present for Lucky here." Claude took the opportunity to bend down and pet the dog. "This is the famous hero, our marketing team. She is eager to start the campaign, Mr. Peterson. The story of how he saved your life during the flood will inspire many people." Patricia was completely lost. "Campaign? What campaign?" "Oh, you don't know yet," explained Claude to everyone present. "Mr. Peterson acquired the Pet Glamour chain 3 weeks ago, and we're preparing a national campaign about responsible adoption and care for rescued animals. His and Lucky's story will be the flagship." Jack, uncomfortable with all the attention, adjusted his hat again. "No need for so much explanation, Claude. I really just came to buy the collar and see how things are going around here." The saleswoman, desperate to fix her image, hurried to get the most expensive collar in the store. "This would be perfect for Lucky, Mr. Peterson. I can personally adjust it to his size, and we also have a VIP grooming service that would be wonderful for him." The farmer observed the drastic change in behavior with a serene but firm look. "Thank you, but I didn't come here for special treatment. I came as a normal customer." He approached the display and chose a simple brown leather collar, sturdy and without adornments. "This one matches Lucky better. How much is it?" "It's $120, sir," replied Patricia, still visibly nervous. "But for you I can offer a special discount of—" "The price is fair," interrupted Jack, taking from his shirt pocket a wad of $20 bills. "I don't need discounts for being the owner of the store. Money is the same, no matter who it comes from." While Patricia processed the payment with trembling hands, the other customers observed the scene with admiration. The lady with the toy poodle approached discreetly. "Excuse the intrusion, Mr. Peterson, but I couldn't help overhearing about your story. How exactly did this little dog save your life?" Jack smiled, his eyes gaining a glow of tenderness when looking at Lucky. "The flood came in the middle of the night, ma'am. Swept away almost everything I had. I was sleeping when the water started to invade the house. It was Lucky who jumped on my bed, barking and pulling at my clothes until I woke up. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here today. The story moved all those present. The rich customer, with the Maltese approached, visibly touched. And how did you manage to go from the situation of losing almost everything to buying a chain of stores like Petty? Glamour. Claude made a motion to intervene, concerned about his boss's privacy, but Jack didn't seem to mind the question. Life has its twisted paths, Mom. I lost the plantation and almost lost the house, but I didn't lose an old chest that my grandfather left me. Inside it were documents for some land that he bought in the 40s, which today is right in the middle of an area that a large mining company really wanted. I sold it for a good price, but with the condition that they preserve the environmental reserve that's there. He paused, adjusting the new collar on Lucky's neck. I always wanted to do something for animals. On the farm, we learned to respect animals. They're more honest than many people. The manager smiled, proud. And Mr. Peterson decided to invest part of the money by buying our chain to transform it into something more than just luxury products. We're going to create an adoption program in each store and allocate part of the profit to animal protection NGOs. Patricia, who listened to everything in silence, returned the change and receipt to Jack. Her expression was transformed. Arrogance had given way to genuine shame. Mr. Peterson, I really apologize for my behavior. It was unforgivable. The farmer looked at her for a few moments, seeing the sincere regret in her eyes. Finally, he nodded. Everyone makes mistakes, miss. The important thing is to learn from the mistake. He was preparing to leave when Claude called him. Mr. Peterson, don't you want to see the office? We have the renovation projects to approve. Not today, Claude. I promised Lucky a walk in the park after we bought the new collar. Business can wait. Promises can't. Before leaving, Jack turned to everyone in the store and, with the naturalness of one who shares ancient wisdom, said, You know, my grandfather always said that a person's character isn't in the clothes they wear or the money they carry, but in the way they treat those who can offer nothing in return. With these words, he opened the door and went out to the busy street, with Lucky trotting proudly at his side, displaying the new collar. The store remained silent for a few moments, each person reflecting on what they had just witnessed. Patricia, still processing the whole situation, asked the manager, Is he really going to keep all the employees even after the way he was treated? Claude nodded. Mr. Peterson was explicit about that. He said people deserve a chance to learn and grow. The only condition is that everyone goes through new training on inclusive service and respect for diversity. Outside the store, on the sunny sidewalk of Fifth Avenue, Jack bent down to better adjust Lucky's collar. Looks good on you, buddy. The dog licked his face in response, his tail wagging frantically. A well-dressed man who was passing by the sidewalk stopped when he recognized Jack. Mr. Peterson, what a surprise to find you here. I'm Edward Martin from Horizon Construction. We're very interested in talking about that land in Aspen. Jack rose slowly, adjusting his battered hat. Not today, Mr. Martin. Today is a day to thank a friend who saved my life. He pointed to Lucky. You can find me at the farm next week. Today my dog and I have an appointment in the park. Edward observed admiringly as the simple man and his dog with a new collar moved away along the sidewalk, standing out among the elegant frequenters of the most expensive street in New York. 3 months passed since that day at Pet Glamour. The store on Fifth Avenue was unrecognizable. In addition to the luxury products it had always offered, now an entire space had been dedicated to affordable items for pets of all social classes. Photos of animals for adoption decorated an entire wall, each with moving stories carefully written beside them. Every Sunday, the store promoted a responsible adoption event that attracted hundreds of people, from residents of Harlem to the owners of the most luxurious apartments on the Upper East Side. Patricia Montgomery, previously known for her contemptuous look at less wealthy customers, now personally coordinated the adoption program. The transformation in her behavior surprised everyone who knew her before. In recent weeks, she had made a point of personally visiting 5 underprivileged communities around New York to register families in the Faithful Friend program, which offered free veterinary care and subsidized food for pets of low-income families. On that sunny Saturday morning, she circulated nervously around the store, checking every detail for the official inauguration of the new phase of pet glamour. Colorful banners announced, "Love has no price or pedigree." A special area had been set up on the sidewalk in front of the store, where volunteer veterinarians would offer free consultations for animals from underprivileged families. "Patricia, where do we put the registration counter?" asked Marina, a newly hired young employee coming from a social project in the periphery. "Put it near the entrance, Marina. I want it to be the first thing people see when they arrive." Patricia nervously adjusted the badge on her uniform, no longer the elegant outfit from before, but a simple t-shirt with the new logo of the store, the silhouette of Lucky with his collar. "Has the microphone been tested?" she asked another employee, consulting her checklist for the 10th time. "All ready, Patricia. Mr. Peterson just called. Said he's arriving. Looks like he brought some surprises." She took a deep breath, still feeling a weight in her chest every time she remembered the first meeting with the owner of the store. In the months that followed that day, Patricia had strived to prove her worth, not only as a saleswoman, but as a human being. To her surprise, Jack not only kept her in the job, but promoted her to social responsibility manager of the chain, after seeing her genuine interest in learning and changing. Carlos, one of the volunteer veterinarians, approached Patricia with a smile. "I never thought I'd see the Ice Queen of Fifth Avenue organizing free care for pets from communities." He had been her friend in college before their paths separated, he choosing to work in NGOs, and she in the world of luxury. "People change, Carlos. Sometimes they need a slap in the face to wake up." She smiled, without offense. "And you, I never thought I'd see you stepping on Fifth Avenue without it being to protest against capitalism." "Well," he shrugged, "I guess we're all learning that the world isn't so black and white. The important thing is to make a difference, no matter from where." The street began to move with the arrival of guests for the event. Representatives of animal protection. NGOs arrived with colorful t-shirts, contrasting with the usual passers-by of the street. City Hall advisors, some celebrities who supported the cause, and most importantly, dozens of ordinary families with their pets, of the most diverse sizes, breeds, and origins. It was the first time Fifth Avenue saw such a democratic mix of people. A journalist from a news portal approached Patricia. "Ms. Montgomery, what motivated this radical transformation in pet glamour? After all, this has always been a store focused exclusively on high-income customers." Patricia thought for a few seconds before responding. "A lesson in humility and an example of generosity. I realize that love for animals has no social class. And if a dog rescued from the street can save a man's life, who are we to discriminate based on appearances?" The journalist noted everything with genuine interest. "And how has the reaction of the old customers been?" "Surprisingly positive. Many are learning, just like me, that the value of animals and people goes far beyond appearances. Mrs. Sophie Campbell, one of our oldest customers, adopted a mutt last month, something she swore she would never do." A sudden buzz spread through the crowd when a simple pickup truck covered in road dust parked in front of the store. From it descended Jack, no longer in the worn clothes of a farmer, but in a simple suit without a tie. At his side, Lucky jumped onto the sidewalk, displaying shiny and healthy fur, completely recovered from the mange and wounds. The mutt proudly wore the same simple collar that Jack had bought on that first day. To everyone's surprise, 5 more mutts jumped from the pickup after Lucky, all apparently rescued, but already treated and healthy. Patricia approached, visibly moved. "Good morning, Mr. Peterson. Everything is ready as you requested." She looked curiously at the other dogs. "And these new friends?" "Good morning, Patricia. And please, just Jack, without the mister. We've already talked about this." He smiled, observing the changes in the store and in the saleswoman herself. "Looks like we did a good job, doesn't it? These are the new members of our team. I found them all near the farm in the last few weeks. They were abandoned on the road. I thought today would be a good day for them to find new families." Claude, the manager, approached to greet Jack, surprised by the new 4-legged guests. "We weren't expecting this surprise. We'll need more adoption forms." "Actually, I have other news," said Jack. I just bought a small farm on the outskirts of New York. We're going to transform it into a sanctuary for rescued animals, with space for rehabilitation, treatment, and a training center so they can become therapy dogs or service dogs." Patricia widened her eyes. "You didn't mention anything about this in the meetings." "Some decisions come from the heart, not the meeting room," he replied simply. "But we'll talk about this later. We have an event to start." Before they could continue the conversation, they were interrupted by a familiar voice. "Mr. Peterson, what an honor to be able to attend your event." It was the rich client with the Maltese Sophie Campbell, who approached elegantly. To everyone's surprise, besides her purebred dog in her arms, she led by the leash a caramel-coated mutt, very similar to Lucky. She wore a brooch with the new Pet Glamour logo on her designer jacket. "Mrs. Campbell, good to see you," greeted Jack. "And who is this new companion?" The socialite smiled, proud. "This is Brave. I adopted him at the last event you promoted at Bloomingdale's. I confess I never imagined having a mutt, but after hearing your story, well, something changed inside. Me," she paused and continued. "And it wasn't just in me. I brought 5 friends from the club today who also want to adopt. They're all there, waiting to meet the available animals." Patricia observed the scene with a smile on her lips. In a few months she had witnessed changes she would never have believed possible, not only in others, but mainly in herself. "Mrs. Campbell, you can't even imagine the impact this creates," commented Patricia. "When influential people like you adopt, many others follow the example." "That's right, dear, and look, Brave here is already more photographed for magazines than I am." Sophie laughed, caressing the mutt that seemed to smile with its tongue out. "He's even going to participate in an advertising campaign for a clothing brand that decided to use only rescued animals in their ads." The inauguration ceremony began punctually at 10 o'clock. A small crowd gathered in front of the improvised stage where banners and flowers created a welcoming environment. Claude, now executive director of the chain, took the microphone to introduce Jack Peterson. "Today we don't just celebrate the reopening of a store. We celebrate a new way of thinking about our 4-legged friends and about ourselves. 3 months ago, a simple man from rural Kentucky entered through that door with his rescued dog, and nothing has been the same since." He paused, visibly moved. "Personally, I learned that sometimes we need to look beyond appearances to see the true value of people and animals. With you, the man who transformed not only pet glamour, but also the way we think about inclusion and respect. Jack Peterson." Enthusiastic applause received Jack, who walked timidly to the microphone with Lucky faithfully at his side. He adjusted his hat, which he still insisted on wearing even with the suit, and cleared his throat before speaking. "I'm not good with speeches, so I'll be brief. Life has taught me that appearances deceive, both for good and for bad. This dog here," he pointed to Lucky, "had nothing to offer me on the day I found him abandoned on the side of the road. He was injured, sick, hungry, with the sad look of someone who no longer expected anything good from human beings. But even so, months later, it was he who saved my life during the flood." Jack paused, looking directly at a group of children who were petting the other rescued dogs. "When the water invaded my house in the middle of the night, it was this dog that many would consider just a mutt who barked, jumped on my bed, and pulled my clothes until I woke up. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here today." Jack wiped a discreet tear. "What I learned is that every living being deserves respect and a second chance. And it's not just about animals, it's about people too. Some may be surprised to know that I kept all the employees after buying the chain, including those who didn't treat me well on the first day." He looked briefly at Patricia, who blushed. "But how could I talk about second chances for animals if I didn't offer the same to people?" The crowd applauded, many with tears in their eyes. An elderly lady raised her hand to ask a question. "Sir, weren't you angry with the young woman who treated you badly? How did you manage to forgive?" Jack smiled gently. "Ma'am, anger is a feeling that only hurts those who carry it. It's like taking poison expecting the other person to get sick. And life is too short for us to spend it with resentment." More applause followed this response. Jack continued his speech. This store now has two missions: to continue offering the best for pets of families who can pay for luxury products, and simultaneously ensure that no animal goes without basic care because of the financial condition of its owners. Therefore, from today, for each luxury product sold, a basic care kit will be donated to underprivileged families. It's not charity, it's justice. The applause was even more intense. Journalists recorded everything, knowing they were witnessing the birth of a new business model in the most capitalist city in America. "And there's more," continued Jack, calling Patricia to the stage with a gesture. She climbed up, nervous, not knowing what to expect. "I want to announce that from today, all employees of our 5 stores are now also partners in the business, because I believe that those who build the day-to-day deserve to reap the fruits." A momentary silence was followed by an explosion of applause and shouts of celebration from the employees present. Patricia couldn't contain her tears, covering her face with her hands. She, who almost lost her job due to her arrogance, was now a partner in the business. "And finally, I want to announce the launch of the Lucky Project, a program that will train rescued dogs to act as assistance dogs in hospitals, schools, and nursing homes, because every animal, regardless of its origin, has an incredible potential to transform lives." After the official ceremony, while people visited the renovated facilities of the store and participated in the adoption activities, Jack discreetly moved away, sitting on a bench on the sidewalk with Lucky at his side. Patricia, still emotional, found him there contemplating the movement. "May I sit?" she asked. "Of course," he replied, caressing Lucky's ears. "I never properly thanked you," said Patricia, after a few moments of silence. "Not just for keeping my job, but for teaching me a lesson that changed my life. I was so empty before, you know? I thought my value was in the expensive clothes I wore, in the rich clients I served." Jack smiled. "It wasn't me who taught you, Patricia. It was life. I was just in the right place at the right time, and you were ready to learn. You just didn't. Know it yet? How do you manage not to hold grudges? I was terrible that day. Grudges are too heavy a weight to carry, miss. Life is already heavy enough on its own." He looked at Lucky, who rested peacefully at his feet. "You know, when I found this dog, he had all the reasons to fear and hate humans. Someone clearly mistreated him before. The scars he had weren't just physical. But even so, he chose to trust me. If an animal that suffered so much can forgive, who am I to do differently?" Patricia remained silent, absorbing those simple but profound words. "My grandmother always said that we only have 2 options in life when someone hurts us: become bitter or become better. I chose to become better, and you also made that choice, didn't you? Look at what you built here." He gestured to the store full of people where several adoptions had already been completed. "This is your work, not mine," replied Patricia. "It's the work of all of us, and especially his." Jack pointed to Lucky. "It was he who made me see that true wealth is in how we treat others, in moments when no one is watching. And that's worth more than all the money those lands earned me." Suddenly, a group of children from a local public school approached, specially invited to the event. They ran straight to Lucky, who wagged his tail frantically, receiving the caresses with evident joy. One of the girls, with colorful braids and a simple dress, knelt in front of the dog. "Mister, is it true that he saved you in a flood?" she asked with eyes full of admiration. "It's true, little one. Lucky is a hero." "And does he have superpowers?" insisted the child, with the innocent logic of childhood. Jack smiled, thoughtful. "Maybe he does. The superpower of seeing people's hearts, not appearances." The girl nodded as if that made all the sense in the world, and continued petting the dog. Jack observed the scene with a serene smile. "See? He doesn't care if they're well-dressed or if they have money. For him, what matters is true affection. Animals have this wisdom that many people have lost." At that moment, under the New York sun, a Kentucky farmer, his rescued dog, and a former snobbish saleswoman contemplated the unlikely result of an encounter that, months earlier, could have ended only in humiliation, but which ended up transforming, lives far beyond that luxury store. Claude approached the group, excited. "Jack, there are some TV people wanting an interview with you and Lucky for the evening news. It's a great opportunity to publicize the adoption project. You go, Claude. Or better, ask Patricia. She knows the story as well as I do. Jack smiled. Lucky and I have an appointment now. Appointment? Asked Patricia, confused. I promised him a walk in the park every time we came to New York, and as I said once, business can wait, promises can't. With a discreet nod, Jack stood up and walked calmly along the sidewalk of Fifth Avenue, with Lucky at his side, completely out of place in the luxury scenario around, but following his own path with the silent dignity of those who know their true value. Dear listeners, we hope that the story of Jack and Lucky has touched your hearts. To continue this emotional journey, we've prepared a special playlist with equally captivating stories about people and animals that transformed lives. Find it here by clicking to your left. If you were moved by this narrative of humility and transformation, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give a like to this video. Every day we bring new unique stories that explore the complexity of American life in all its nuances. Share with us in the comments, has an animal ever transformed your life in a special way? We're eager to hear your stories too.